Future-proof is sponsored by Equipping Young Adults for Life, inspiring student resilience, championing hope.
Hello, welcome to Future-proof. Thank you so much for joining me, Sarah Hopwood, as I continue this series 4, and it's 20 programs looking at education specifically. The other week, if you watched it, I had Andrew Wright with me, and I certainly didn't feel that the interview was finished, and I've asked him to come back again, which I'm sure you're delighted with. If you didn't see it before, you can go on to my YouTube channel. If you Google Future-proof TV, you can see all these programs on YouTube. If you didn't see Andrew's first interview, do go back and watch it. But he's in the studio, and we're going to almost pick up, if you like, where we left off. So I hope that you enjoy the program. Andrew, thank you so much for joining me. Can you just remind me of, I know you're Andrew Wright from Action for Potential, but you're a former teacher, aren't you? And you have a great interest in neuroscience. Can you just say more about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm an ex-biology teacher, but I've been a deputy head and an acting head teacher and a special needs coordinator. And I'm passionate about brains and supporting young people and their parents to understand how they work so they can get much more out of them.
Yeah, and you know that I'm working down some negative mindsets. If you've watched any of the earlier programs, then I'm probably on negative mindset 5 now. So the one that we discussed before was it's too hard. And you talked in depth really about the caveman thinking and also about emotional and cognitive responses. And but as we were leaving the last programme, which is why I've got you back, you talked about 12 steps of something. I can't remember. Can you say more about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way we segued into that, we talked about what would we say to children that were anxious and how to support them. So I start with the 12 rocks of wellbeing. So the company I run, we talk about becoming neuro ninjas. So a neuro ninja is someone that lives in their brain, understanding what it's doing and crucially how to respond. So if the brain builds the mind every day, which it does, then we need to build the best version every day. So we need to give our brain everything it needs to do that. And there are 12 activities, habits, strong evidence base for each of these habits, so they have a big impact on well-being. Together they have a huge impact on well-being. They all knit with each other. So I'll just walk you through the 12.
Fantastic. Just before you do, so when I first had a meeting with you, we talked about the negative mindset, it's too hard. What I forgot to say just now is the negative mindset we're covering today is my life feels kind of so miserable and I feel sorry for myself. And sometimes some people call it like a pity party, and we can get stuck in a pity party. So 12 rocks of well-being and healthy thinking definitely helps to combat that. So
totally.
Yes.
Yeah, so half of how we feel every day is down to what we've done in the previous 24 hours. Our brain builds our mind. So half of what the experience of being ourselves is down to what we've done. So the 12 things that we all need to make sure we do really well, you'll do some of these naturally. Sleep, very good sleep, 7 to 9 hours of sleep we all need. I know some people think they can survive on an egg cup of sleep. It's not true. You can function, but very poorly. Once you've had good sleep, you'll see the difference. Exercise is brilliant for the body, but it's amazing for the brain. Exercise grows brain cells. Guess where? In your prefrontal cortex, in the cognitive bit of your brain. It connects it more securely with your emotional brain, giving you more agility, giving you more flexibility.
And when we talk about cognitive means motion and...
So cognitive means thinking, it means kind of rational, it means kind of analysis, it means kind of thoughtfulness. And emotional is kind of the instant response of the brain to circumstances.
Sorry, so we can have physical responses to both.
Yeah, absolutely.
Emotional and cognitive.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, that we are embodied beings. Our brain generates our mind, and actually, a lot of the neural traffic in our brains, 95% of what our brains do, we've no access to whatsoever. we end up in this little chattery space
yes.
in our heads. So rock number 4 is mindfulness, which is focusing our attention. Nobody told me this, but actually I think we need to tell the world we've got a calming down half to our nervous system. It's called the parasympathetic nervous system. When we do yoga, when we do mindfulness, we're turning on our parasympathetic nervous system. There's a nerve running down the back of our brain all the way to our intestines called the vagus nerve. We can turn that on with activity. So deep breathing turns on the calming down system, opens up the cognitive areas of our brain, makes our thinking much more flexible, and linked to that, behind that circuit, is a whole set of circuits that mind wander. So when you're mind wandering, daydreaming, wool gathering, your brain is doing something. It's trying to come up with solutions to problems. It's trying to work through the difficulties life's bowling at you. And actually, mindfulness and mind wandering are really important daily processes, and we need to make space for mind wandering. We need to take our mind for a walk. We need to give our mind the opportunity to process the experiences it's having.
And is that different to sleep?
Yeah, completely different from sleep. Although what happens in sleep, dreaming sleep, is also about processing problems. The REM sleep anyway, in dreaming sleep. But mind wandering is the brain trying to solve generally social problems. Then we've got rock 6, emotions. We need to process our emotional experiences cognitively. So we now know that the area of the brain that registers physical and emotional pain is in the same space. It's sandwiched between the emotional centers here and the cognitive centers here. And emotional pain affects your cognition, affects your thinking, affects your ability to be productive. And if you don't process your emotions, they just clog up. So you mentioned pity parties. That is brooding. That's one of the instinctual responses of the brain to emotion. That's labelling a bad emotion over your head and ruminating on it in a very unhelpful way.
What do you mean by ruminating?
So overthinking things. So basically it is a pity party effectively. Brooding is identifying that you're feeling sad and then deciding to have a bath in sadness and ladle it over your head. The other unhelpful response the brain can give to emotion is bottling, holding, and then releasing emotions in ways that you don't control and are hurtful to you and the people around you. The best response to emotion is emotional agility, which is showing up to the emotions, whatever they are, noticing them and sharing them with people that you trust.
Can I just say, Susan David's written a brilliant book called Emotional Agility, and also my understanding of emotion is energy in motion, E-motion, energy in motion, and we need to, suspend and control. Yes, emotional agility, fantastic.
Yeah, no, Susan, I would highly recommend Susan David's book.
She's amazing.
Yeah, so that emotional agility and emotional hygiene, which is a skill similar to emotional agility, basically means at the end of the day we process our experiences with our loved ones and we say, what happened today, what emotions were involved, how did I feel, and we have those conversations, because brains that can name their emotional experiences can tame those experiences. If we can't name it, we can't tame it, and it will just haunt us and we will carry it with us. So we have to process it.
And can I say the other thing too about naming? Naming actually makes it real, and sometimes we realise how ridiculous we're being when we actually auditory hear ourselves name something, and then you realise that, it isn't that important to you. We're never really offended. So there's something about we ourselves auditory hearing what is going on in our heads, and sometimes we go, yeah, that is how I feel, and other times you go, you idiot, why on earth were you getting upset about that kind of idea?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay, carry on with your list, sorry.
Yeah, okay, so beyond emotions, we're up to 7. So
well done.
Number 7 is walking outside in nature, which turns on the parasympathetic nervous system. It's very good for us. Listening to music is rock number 8. That wires up our brain. The whole brain resonates to music, as we can all attest to. Number 9 is connecting meaningfully with friends and family. 10 is practicing gratitude and kindness.
Yes.
11 is engaging with activities linked to our life purpose. So there's hobbies, interests, things that we're really engaged in and make us feel whole and make our experiences flow. I'll perhaps talk about that a little bit later on as well. And then rock 12 is learning, playing, creating and reading. That is the workout our brain needs every day. If you don't do those things, start. If you need a list, follow us on social media. You'll see the list. We always publish it, because that is the start of the Neuro Ninja journey. Because you can't be the best version of yourself unless you give your brain what it needs to build that.
Neuro Ninja. I interviewed somebody talking about nerds, and he was saying, this was actually before lockdown, he said we need more and more nerds coming. It just made me think of ninja. Can you just tell me, I know you've just said it's on your website, but can you say those things again about starting a day? What was that list just now?
So the 12 rocks of wellbeing?
No, not the 12 rock. You said something just now, I can't remember, about healthy thinking. Healthy starting. I've probably thrown it. We'll come back. We will do. So yeah, please do stay with me, because the other thing I want to ask you too is, you talked about the vagus nerve, and I have heard it said too, there are actually two brains in the body, that there is the brain in our head, but there is also the intestinal brain, and I would love to know your thoughts on that, because I actually have personal family history where people perhaps have evidence of there a link, the anxiety that can manifest itself actually in the digestive system and what have you, and cause ongoing problems. But your website, what's the address?
So it's www.actionyourpotential.org.
Yeah, fantastic. So do search, but come back to us in just a moment as I continue to talk to Andrew. So we'll see you in just a moment.